Everybody okay? I hope so. Welcome to Naturally Kira. Thank you for tuning in to the YouTube channel. I just wanted to hop on here really quick and give you guys a couple of tips for the emergency, impromptu, temporary homeschool situation that's going on all across the country right now, especially California. LAUSD has just shut down all the schools for at least a week, I believe. And I know that it's a little scary, it's a little panicky, everybody's in a frenzy, and especially when you have to sit home and homeschool your babies, and it's not something that you signed up for. So trust me, I totally get it. And as a homeschool mom for the past 2 years, I just want to give you guys some crucial tips to make it maybe not as scary as you think it is, right? A lot of people think homeschool has to be this really big scary thing, and it has to be this, and it doesn't always have to be that way. So here are a couple tips for you. Tip number 1. You do not have to homeschool for 6-8 hours a day. Like, you just don't. Your kids don't even do that much schoolwork in a day, even when they're at school, right? There's time for recess, there's time for lunch, there's transitions in between periods, there's morning meeting, and there's all kind of, it takes half the time just to get the kids to settle down, right? In the grand scheme of things, you do not have to homeschool 6, 7, 8 hours. I don't care who says what they say, you don't have to do that. My recommendation for you is to homeschool 2 to 3 hours a day. Now that's really rich content, and think about it. Your kids, instead of being in a class of 30 plus kids or 20 plus kids, however many they have in public school systems now, they're getting one-on-one, or if you have more than one, just a handful of kids, they're getting that really personal time to learn and to be taught, right? How much more information can they get and absorb in such a close and intimate setting? So you do not have to homeschool 6-8 hours. I would say cut that time in half and get as much as you can in those few hours, and then kind of relax the rest of the day. It does not have to be that serious. Tip number 2, within those 2 or 3 hours or 4 hours max, I think your kids are a little bit older, maybe 4 hours, that you homeschool, take a lot of breaks. Do an hour at a time. Okay, we're going to do math. Okay, now we're going to take a break, have snack, relax for a minute. Now we're going to do some writing. We're going to take a break and have snack. You know what I'm saying? Like this, you could break it up throughout the day. I personally like to try to get it all done at one time, but it doesn't always work for my family. It doesn't always work for my kids. When I notice them starting to get antsy or frustrated or irritated, you or them, because parents, we can get upset too, take a break. Take a break. Do worksheets at a time. Do small sections at a time, whatever works for you, right? Take lots of break and release some of that pressure off yourself. It does not have to. This goes into tip number 3. It does not have to look like school. Okay? It doesn't have to look like school. The beautiful thing about homeschool is that you can do it at any time. The beautiful thing about homeschool is that you can do it in your pajamas, right? You don't have to have your hair combed before you do it. You don't have to get up and put shoes and socks on before you do it, right? So that's the great thing about homeschool. Do not try to make it mimic what you do at school as far as like the sitting at a desk, having to sit at a table. Like, it's now the time that you can have a little more freedom. Like, since we're forced into the situation, let's kind of take some free reign and get a little creative with it, right? So you do not have to mimic traditional homeschool. If my kids do schoolwork better with their shoes off, with no socks on, in pajamas, in a onesie, with his Halloween costume on, if he does work better in his room, in my room, on my bed, with a clipboard, I don't care, as long as it gets done. In the grand scheme of life, as long as it gets done, you know? So that's tip number 3. Do not feel the pressure to have it mimic what school looks like, what traditional school looks like. It's homeschool. You make it work for your family. Tip number 4 is play a lot of games. Games are so educational. Play a lot of games, have a lot of fun, and build in some of that family bonding time, right? Like, we're kind of forced into this situation, and so let's make the most of it. Get some of that family time in, watch some educational movies together, then ask questions about their comprehension, or have them maybe write like a little paragraph about what the movie was about. Something you guys can do together, play games, have them do the counting. I know we play Life, my 7-year-old, he loves to do the counting of the money. And we have to help him through it, and it takes longer, but he's learning, right? He's learning the game of life. He's learning about buying houses and counting and being in the bank and loans and all that kind of stuff. So it's really fun for him. It takes time for me, and I'm kind of like, sometimes I just want to get done, you know, but at the end of the day, it's educational, it's fun. And once we do that, that counts for his whole math. Like, we're not going to do that and then do a whole bunch of other 15 different worksheets. No, that's math today. We did some learning today, and it was fun, right? And if you're in the midst of doing games, then they don't even have to know that they're homeschooling, that they're learning anything. They don't have to know and feel the pressure like, oh, okay, I got to get this right, It's a game. Let them play, right? And so, I don't know how many of those was that, four tips. And my last tip is I'm going to put a link to my blog at the bottom. I just wrote a post about homeschooling offline for those of you who don't have access to like a computer. I mean, you might have access to internet on your phone or YouTube, something like that, but you might not have it on a computer or a laptop or something that you're comfortable with your kids using. There are a lot of offline resources, like I said, games. You can do books. You can do go to the Dollar Tree. They have great workbooks and flashcards at the Dollar Tree. There's nothing like some good old sheet paper and pen and write out some word problems for your kids, write out some math problems for your kids, have them correct some grammar of a sentence that you use. Now, typically these things are for younger kids, right? My kids are in first grade and TK, transitional kindergarten. They're for younger kids, but I think these tips can work for some of the older ones, as far as like, you know, you don't have to mimic traditional homeschool, work a few hours a day, take lots of breaks. Those you can apply to anyone. But as far as like working offline and doing like the flashcards and the games, stuff like that, they may work for younger kids. So just keep that in mind. I hope these tips help you. I want to remind you and tell you, mommy, don't panic. Breathe. You've got this. And in the grand scheme of life, your kid not having a week or two off school, I don't think it's going to set them back. Like, if they weren't already behind, I don't see how this can make them behind. Everybody, when they come to school, is going to have to get on the good foot, right, and do some things. So I think that in the grand scheme of things, touch on some stuff, do a lot of review. That's always good. But don't put so much pressure on yourself. Don't panic. You're fine. You've got this. You can do this. And I need you to have that confidence in yourself and know that you can do this, and it's a perfect opportunity to learn your kids, learn yourself. Be patient, but trust yourself and trust your child. It's going to be okay.